All righty. Shaders. Someone on one of the YouTube videos asked about a video on shaders, so I thought I had a little time this morning would be a good time to do it. I got out a couple of my guns. I got out some shaders I've used over the years and quit using, and I'm always experimenting with different types of things. Obviously, the whole idea of a shader is to shade your sights. Um, so you should have that figured out by now. So I'm just going to show a few of the shaders I've got, how they're made in case you want to use them on your gun. This right here actually was, I had a shop vac that crapped out on me, and this is one of the tubes that came on the shop vac. As you can see, you just cut a slot in it, kind of taper it right here so that you can get it on and off easy enough. And the way that works, of course, it just slides over top of the rear sight. You always want, well, not always want, but generally your rear sight's going to be wider than the top flat. So if that's the case, it'll fit just fine right underneath that rear sight. Got a couple here that were made several years ago by me. These were using them on my offhand gun. This is just a couple pieces of aluminum or tin, and you can see how you bend them. And they're made for like a full stock gun, where you can see these are rather big, so I'll spread, there we go. They're made to go over like that. There we go. They're made to go just like that to cover the sight. They're just held on by the tension right here on the barrel. Uh, here's one for a rear sight I used to have on one of the guns. I actually cut it out here to fit over top of the sight. The cut right here is for the width of the blade of the rear sight. That works pretty good. I just changed. Actually, this was on my table gun, and I ended up putting peep sights on it, so I didn't need that anymore. Now, this on my Mueller, this is the one I always keep on it. And what this is, if you've seen, uh, people have these shelters in their backyard. You'll see a bunch of them at Friendship in the flea market. The white frames, pipe frames with the white canvas on them. Uh, this was a section of that uh, tubing that they used to make those. I had a neighbor had one blow over, get all crumbled up, and I salvaged a couple pieces of this. I will post a video here too showing you how those work, but basically when you get them, there's a seam that runs in, there's a welded seam that runs the length of it. You want to cut that right on that seam with a cutoff wheel. And when you do, they're under quite a bit of tension. And what'll happen, it'll just pop open, just like that, basically. So all you got to do there then is clean it up, put you some bevels on the ends, and make it to fit under your rear sight. You can see here, this one overhangs just a little bit. What I do then is I slide that on, just like that, and it's ready to go. Now, the one thing I do, in addition to that, you'll see guys, they'll use duct tape, they'll use electrician's tape, they'll use friction tape, whatever, to hold these on. Uh, you really don't need them during the shoot as a rule, but if you're traveling to a shoot, it's kind of nice to protect your sights so when you get there, there's nothing wrong with them. So I use zip ties. I keep long zip ties that go around here, front and rear shader, and that keeps them in place. And if something falls on your gun, your sights don't get all boogered up. That's how I do it on this gun. Now, this gun, this is the gun that Alan Hunter made for Max Egoff. Alan made these shaders. Now, you can see here, they're just a friction fit. And what Alan done, he just bent this, probably formed it around a piece of pipe or something. And then a nice little detail here, he kind of rolled these so that when you put it on, it doesn't chew on the wood. And of course, they just go on like that. Uh, Most of the shaders you'll see will be kind of like this in size. Um, oh, here again is another one of them made out of some of that pipe I was just talking about. Uh, I'm starting to see smaller shaders on some of the guns, and I think they're headed in the right direction there. I've been kind of looking at that myself. The less light you're getting in there, basically less light you're seeing beyond your shader, the better off you are. Uh, and I think I'm going to start looking at maybe trying to make a shader out of like some small diameter EMT conduit. Uh, but then on the back end of it, where your eye is, have a larger piece so that when you're looking in it, you're not getting light around that back piece. Now, shaders just on the front and rear sight or full length shaders. Uh, that's going to be on you, whatever you like. I see no advantage to either one. I see no problem with either one. Uh, the only what you run into basically is what are you going to make them out of? I don't think there's anything ghastlier on a chunk gun than a piece of white PVC pipe. Uh, I know in the old day or a few years ago, a lot of guys were using copper, which it's fantastic. It looks proper for a chunk gun. The problem is, and I'll just share this. Someone I know had a chunk gun that had a full length copper shader. Well, something happened. I can't remember what happened, and he had to have a new shader. And he went to the local plumbing supply. Now, this was during COVID, at the very tail end of COVID. That piece of copper pipe for a full length shader was going to cost him $150. So you can see that kills that deal right there. So if you can find something like this, and this shelter leg I'm talking about, and you want a full length shader, all you got to do is get a long piece, but always cut it on the weld. I'll have, like I said, there's a picture with this video, shows you what the weld looks like. If you cut that anywhere else other than the weld, when that tension that's under springs, it ain't gonna be round anymore. It's gonna have a hump or like a groove in it. I know that. I found that out the hard way. Trust me. So cut it right on the weld, and it'll be fine. Now shaders. There's also techniques to shaders. This type of shader is fine. It's rather short. I like them rather long, and there's a reason for that. Depending on how the light's coming, like I'm going to use the York as an example. When we start if you're in the morning relay, sun's coming in over your back, and it's literally looking right down through here. So that's got issues. If you had it on this gun, you've only got a certain amount of movement and to shade that from that sun coming over your back. With this one, you got a little more room, and you can actually slide it back even closer, see, to your eye and block out more of that light. So that's one reason for the longer individual shader. If you got a full length shader, well, you might as well go ahead and make it all the way back anyway. If you can. Now, on some of the barrels and flintlock or percussion lock combinations, the hammer may be in the way, and you'll have to kind of adjust for that. I've seen them with a little flat spot cut out. I'm here to fit that. That is, and by the way, this is not just for chunk guns. If you're on the offhand line Friendship, you'll see a lot of shaders on rifles. Matter of fact, I believe there's only one range at Friendship that doesn't allow shaders, and that would be the primitive range. So you'll see a lot of shaders, so there's always kinds of different ways to make them. I've got one on, can't remember which gun it is. I think it's my new flintlock. It's over on the wall now. I made it out. I had a piece of brass tubing about that big in diameter, and I had just enough to make a front shader. And when the brass ages, it looks kind of cool on there. But anyway, that's the story on the shaders. And while we're talking about this, I'd like to, don't wait to get everything perfect before you start going to chunk gun shoots. If you've got a gun, even if it's an offhand gun, rig it up for a chunk shoot, make it so you can put a camp bar on it and make some shaders for it, and go to a chunk shoot. If you keep waiting until you have the perfect gun, I'm sorry, but you'll be dead. The perfect gun does not exist. So make the gun you have work for you until you maybe want to upgrade to a bigger barrel gun or something along that line. But chunk gun shooting is a lot of fun, and there's no point in you waiting to go chunk gun shooting. So just get out there and do it. All right, guys and girls, I think that'll be it for today. Appreciate you stopping by.